Good evening, Mr. and Ms. Internets, and all our ships at sea. This is the Freeway Forum. My name is Atari, and we'll be here together for however long it takes to get out of this traffic here in beautiful, sunny Southern California on the world-famous 405 Freeway. Oh boy, man, I'm freaking tired. This dang daylight saving stuff, man, it's just enough to kill you. Just enough to drive you insane. You know, the whatever group it was, the American Insurance or something association, you know, they have the data out that says that the days following the time shifts, they are really like the peak for the year. They're the peak for accident claims and all that kind of stuff, because people are just tired. Their circadian rhythms are thrown off. Everything about this time change is just horrid. We're only one of a handful of countries that still does it. Supposedly it's good for commerce, but no, it's not. It's terrible for commerce because everybody freaking gets tired and doesn't want to do anything. Well, maybe in agriculture, good for commerce. During the summer, I mean, hell, I loved it. I loved it during the summer. You know, when you switch over, you know, the summertime, and you got those long daylight hours. I don't mind that in the least. I don't mind that at all. I still don't mind it. But this whole business of changing back and forth, and you know, when you don't have summers off anymore, you know, that whole business is just a nightmare. Oh my goodness, no bueno. I am not a fan. I would say let's just pick one and stick with it. If we go to daylight saving and stay with it, let's just stay with it. You know, hell, if we stick back on standard time, fall back and never swing forward again, I don't care. Either way, it's got to be better than the shifting back and forth. And the state of California was kicking around for a little while. They were kicking around the idea of doing away with daylight saving. I believe it was falling back and never shifting forward again, springing forward. Which would be fine. That would be fine with me. It makes things confusing when you have states that follow it, states that don't follow it. Like Arizona, I think, doesn't do daylight saving, so they're sometimes an hour, sometimes they're 2 hours, or whatever. Sometimes they're the same time. I don't know. I don't keep track of it. I really don't. I don't like keeping track of it. I just know that the East Coast is 3 hours ahead of the West Coast, and that's all I really care about, usually. So to all of you on the East Coast watching, it's almost 8 o'clock now, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you for being here during summertime, or instead of watching Game of Thrones or whatever it is people watch at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. I don't know. I don't watch television anymore. I do. I don't watch traditional television. I watch television on my schedule. I'm the original cord cutter, man. I cut cable, gosh, 16 years ago? I mean, I cut the cord before cord cutting was a thing. You know, we had cable in high school. You know, when I was in high school, we had cable at home. And I got into, you know, I moved out. And I got my own apartment. I didn't realize the apartment actually had cable for like 6 months or something ridiculous. Like 3 or 4 months, I think, probably, honestly. I didn't realize that we had cable. So I just never watched television. I never watched television. So it was always interesting, you know. I was just like, oh, I have cable in here. I'm going to watch cable now. So, hell, I spend most of my time on the internet, either on the internet or playing games or watching movies, watching DVDs, because I have the freaking ridiculous DVD collection it's because I worked at Borders back in the day. I had this massive DVD collection because I got like stupid, ridiculous discounts. And Borders is no longer in business. So, yeah, there's that there. So, looks like we have a viewer here. Oh, hello, Dr. Jordan. How are you? I always like to say hello to Dr. Jordan because she's fun. She makes interesting comments, usually. Let's see if she makes an interesting comment. Anyway, so, no pressure now. Ah, look at that! Hearts! Yes! Yes! Fantastic. Thank you. Oh, I live for hearts. I live for hearts. Yes. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anyway. So, so daylight savings time and cable, and where was I? Talking about cable. Yeah, so a long time I didn't realize I had cable available to me because I never watched television. And then I was like, oh, I can watch television now. So I started watching hockey games and NASCAR, which is all I ever watched on television after high school. Because I had everything I wanted to watch, I had on video in some form or another. Because my family we were all about the VHS, and we were all about I was all about the DVD and the digital media. So it was all about time shifting for us. It was always about time shifting. We just record stuff and watch it later, and then keep it forever. And I still have a lot of VHSs just full of stuff that we taped off of television from the 80s, early 90s, and I have that still. And that's the VHS time capsule project. By the way, if you've probably seen it if you're following on social media, at Airborne Surfer on Twitter, or you can find me on the Facebook, of course, in the usual way. Or just following along with the RSS feed from airbornesurfer.com. I actually have some factory Star Trek TOS episodes on VHS, or factory VHSs, whatever you want to call them. I actually have a couple of those. My uncle, Uncle Joe. Everybody needs an Uncle Joe, by the way. Everybody needs an Uncle Joe. And if you don't have an Uncle Joe, maybe you have a different uncle, but it's my opinion that everybody has an Uncle Joe, whether he's actually Uncle Joe or not. But my Uncle Joe, he knew I liked the Star Trek a little bit, so he gave me some episodes of the Star Trek every once in a while for my birthday or for Christmas or something. I love my Uncle Joe. He's a cool guy. He's definitely kind of an all shucks kind of guy. Which is what I mean when I say everybody needs an Uncle Joe, is that kind of all shucks, like ridiculously well-meaning, but somewhat aloof family member. That's Uncle Joe. But, God bless him, I love my Uncle Joe. Anyway, I have a couple of VHS Star Trek TOS things, and I have a lot of Star Trek that we just recorded off of CBS. What was CBS? Channel 5 was CBS in Atlanta back in the day. Before the big WGNX and WATL shift, or not it was GNX, WATL, and WAGA. They all did like this mixed basket turnover, fruit basket turnover with their network affiliates, because Fox became a network and not just like some, well, Fox was a network, but it was UHF, and UHF was always kind of weird because you had weird sort of power limitations with UHF that you didn't have with VHF, and so there was a market saturation issue. And I remember watching Simpsons and Married with Children back in the day, and they would make jokes about that. I remember Married with Children specifically made this joke where they were going to watch something on Fox, and and they were like, assume the Fox viewing positions, and they would all put like tinfoil hats and rabbit ears on and like hold them up and like stand in weird awkward positions. It was like, and that's how Friday's topic, analysis of Weird Al's UHF. Oh God. Oh, I could begin. Don't get me started on broadcasting, because I have 20 or 30 years worth of opinions on broadcast politics. and just broadcasting in general, especially UHF broadcasting, though. Old school. I love old school UHF broadcasting, and that's actually a pretty fair topic, because remind me about that. That's actually a pretty good topic for Friday. We'll talk about UHF and broadcast politics and that kind of stuff. So we won't get too much into that today then. But anyway, so I didn't have cable. So I didn't have cable when I was, freshman in college, and I just never really got cable for a long time. Like whenever I moved out, whenever I was on my own, I just didn't have it, and I paid for internet. I had internet, but I didn't have cable. Which, I mean, I guess you could technically lump me in with millennials then, because I'm a cord cutter and not a fan of cable television anymore. I never was too big a fan of cable television. I always thought it was kind of a waste. It was really expensive for not having a lot of stuff that I really regularly wanted to watch. I was much more of an on-demand kind of guy. That's because I pirated the internet in my formative years. Don't ask, I won't tell. Anyway, yeah, so I was always kind of an on-demand entertainment kind of person. But anyway, so that's my analysis of daylight savings time. It all goes into cable television or something. Because apparently cable television wants to they want to get rid of daylight saving because they want it to get dark sooner, so that people will come in and watch Game of Thrones, apparently. That's always been a thing. But anyway, so you've got what? That was the topic. Yeah, no, it was one topic. Yeah, that's leading me into what we've got going on here. So the title today, we're talking about naval strategy and obsolescent technologies, and this comes to me because of what I've been reading lately regarding President Scroob's his desire to expand the military. And so there's a couple of things, both good and bad here. What Trump is doing, first off, he's totally playing out of Reagan's playbook. This is the classic Reaganomics playbook here, and this is exactly what Reagan did in order to kill the Soviet Union. In order to defeat communism, he literally wanted to bankrupt the Soviet Union by building up the military enough that the Soviet Union just spent themselves into oblivion in order to build up their military might in order to counter ours. That's not necessary. It's not really necessary anymore to do, because we do maintain air, land, and naval superiority in a military sense. We have tactical, technological, and numerical superiority for most of the world. This is sort of a play to try to rattle the saber and beat the drums, I think. Say, look at us making America great. It's like, we're gonna have great warships. It's like, Ford-class aircraft carriers. Okay, very cool ships. Ford-class aircraft carriers are fan-frickin-tastic as far as from what I know about them, which is not that much, considering a lot of it's classified. Basically, you've got a really big boat that carries a lot of airplanes. Fantastic airplanes, by the way. The F-18, the FA-18 is one of my favorite tactical aircraft. The only real drawback with the F-18 is its fuel range. It does not have the kind of fuel range a strike fighter aircraft needs. And that's because of its size. It's small, because it's got to go on a ship. It's got to be small. So the F-18 has some limitations there. The F-35 is not any better, really. It's got like an extra 50-mile range, which is just like 2 minutes worth of fuel at afterburn. It's like whoop-de-doo. But what we got going on? So Trump wants to build up. He wants to build 12 aircraft here. We have 10. We have 10. We have one in reserve, and the new Ford aircraft carrier, not the Ford automobile. It's named after Gerald Ford, the USS Gerald Ford. It's a cool aircraft carrier. It's a cool ship. The problem here is that we are running up against an obsolescence wall. Tactics have changed. The 21st century has brought new technology to the forefront. The aircraft carrier was the ship of... It hasn't fallen over yet, no. I don't know if the Gerald Ford falls over any. It has not capsized, though, thank God. It's got a pretty darn big keel, so I don't think it's going to capsize, but that's actually quite a great little comment there. I like that. Well done. Well done, Dr. Jordan. Anyway, yeah, the problem with the aircraft carrier in general, the aircraft carrier was the ship of the 20th century. It was the superiority ship of the 20th century. U.S. aircraft carriers, U.S. naval aircraft carriers, won the war in the Pacific. The carrier groups obliterated the Japanese Imperial Navy. That's a fact. The Nimitz class carriers. No, sorry, Nimitz class is a nuclear carrier. So, what were the diesel carriers? I cannot remember what class they were. Anyway, it doesn't really matter all that much. World War II era. World War II and Korean era aircraft carriers. They were great ships, fantastic ships. They won the war. They won World War II, at least for the Pacific carrier groups. And it's because at the time your weapon, your superiority weapon, was air superiority. Because you're able to launch aircraft. Not only do you launch aircraft, but you have your carrier group that surrounds the carrier. So you're sailing with destroyers, you're sailing with patrol boats. You've got the ability to hunt and destroy submarines. One, to protect the carrier, and you have destroyers that are surface to surface. Destroyers to hunt subs. Battleships are surface to surface. That are just pounding the hell out of the enemy ships. Yorktown and Obsolescence. Oh, well done to try and trump me on the naval history. Remember, I'm an Air Force guy. I am very much a flyboy, and my particular knowledge of naval strategy, naval tactics, and naval errata. Those. Oh, you're Googling. Okay, thank you. Yorktown or Essex class. Essex was a. Oh crap! I really don't remember. I really don't recall. So if you can find that, thank you. Just drop it in there, and I'll jump in. My knowledge of the errata and the particular classes, and I'm better at identifying Star Trek ships than I am at our own U.S. Navy ships. I'm better at identifying. I'm better at identifying commercial aircraft than I am at Star Trek ships too. But whatever. Anyway, commercial and military aircraft, by the way. But anyway, so a carrier group. So you've got a destroyer, and the destroyer is taking care of the subs. You have battleships that take care of the other surface ships. And then you have the aircraft carrier, and the aircraft carrier is to maintain air dominance, because if you can maintain air dominance, then you can drop bombs on the ships and maintain a tactical advantage. Because a battleship can only fire so many guns in a certain direction, and can only change directions on the guns so fast. But an aircraft, i.e. a fighter bomber, like you would have stationed on an aircraft carrier, something like the Corsair. For you, Corsair, one of my absolute favorite aircraft ever. Just that gull-wing is just, I mean, she is a sexy beast. But anyway, so when you have a fighter bomber stationed on an aircraft, that fighter bomber can then take torpedoes and drop them on ships, can drop them on battleships, can drop them on destroyers. Now, they only got so much anti-aircraft capability, and if you can take out their aircraft carrier, bada bing. So that's, carrier group tactics were the dominant naval tactics throughout the 21st century, through the 20th century. Now, thanks to advances in missile technology, now we have, we really have two new, we're entering a new phase of warfare, and it really is something that our military is still trying to figure out. I mean, everybody's still trying to figure it out. The Air Force kind of had it all along. We've kind of, Air Force has been right there on top of it with electronic warfare since it really became a thing in the 50s. The U.S. Air Force has been on top of electronic warfare. The F-15, the Mudhead, the F-15E, that is right there. That is like the top of the top. That's the cream of the crop for electronic warfare right there. That sucker is, man, it has got a lot of electronic weapon systems. It's fantastic. I mean, not like weapon systems that run on electronics, but like weapon systems designed to take out electronics. I mean, we're also talking about the only air, well, the E is not the airframe, it's the A, F-15A. But regardless, the F-15 is the only airframe in service ever that has a confirmed kill in outer space. The F-15. There's your trivia for today. F-15, only confirmed kill in outer space ever. Period. Confirmed kill. It took out a satellite because why not? It was a test to see if they could do it. It was a specially built F-15. They stripped it all down. They called it Speedhawk, I believe. And basically, they developed this crazy weird Immelman maneuver where they did like 3 Immelmans in order to slingshot it up to the right speed to get it right at the edge of the atmosphere, and then it fired a Sparrow. Fires a Sparrow missile and takes out a satellite. And it worked. It's not practical, but it works. So, and the whole idea was that you could attack a satellite with an aircraft, with a carrier-launched aircraft, which F-15 is carrier capable. It's not a Navy jet, but it is capable of taking off from, and I believe it's also capable of landing on a carrier. I'll have to double check that. I know a 15 jock, and I haven't talked to him in a long It was one of my old professors. He's an F-15 jock. And he was, slingshot maneuvers are how you do time travel. Yes, they are. They are indeed. Yeah, F-15 pilots are a few microseconds younger than their other pilots. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway. So slingshotting and doing these things, the details don't matter, but F-15 confirmed kill in space. The idea is that you can launch an F-15 from a carrier and send it up to the edge of the atmosphere and take out a satellite undetected, versus the very real, the very apparent telltale signs of an anti-satellite missile, where you can actually trace it back to where it came from. There's a level of plausible deniability if you launch an aircraft, because it can't be traced as easily. But so that's the F-15 and why they wanted to kill a satellite with it. So fun little story there. Anyway, so thanks to advances in missile technology in the past really 20 years, the Chinese, who are, I guess, the boogeyman now, because the North Koreans can't do jack. They can't do squat. They don't have the technology to do anything to... Well, they could hit South Korea, and that's really about as far as they can go. They can't even hit Japan yet, but, it's something we keep under watch. What we have now is we have a situation where you have land-based defenses that can take out a carrier group if it gets too close. I think China's anti-ship missile system, land-based anti-ship missile system, can take out something close to 1,500 nautical miles out, and it's a conventional warhead. Conventional missile. It's not intercontinental. It's not a ballistic missile. It's a guided missile that will just freaking take out a ship. It's like that scene in Top Gun at the end of the movie where they were getting close to the other side, and they had the anti-ship missile, and they couldn't let them within 5 miles or something like that. No, we're talking about some 1,500 mile guided range. It's a cruise missile. It is a cruise missile that, two of them can take out a carrier. It's ridiculous. And let's go back to the numbers again. Our number one carrier-based aircraft, our carrier-based strike-capable aircraft, is the F-18. F-18 only has, 600 nautical mile range on one tank of gas. So you've got to refuel 3 times? Say 1,500? Yeah, you got to refuel that thing 3 times. So you've got to get, you got to refuel at least once on the way out. 600, now you're at 1,200. And you've got to refuel again before you get to land, and you're talking about a range of, if you refuel at 300 and then you fly another 600, you're at 900, so you still got another 300 miles to go. So the problem is you got to figure out, where do you refuel this thing, because you can't refuel really more than 300 miles out, because you've got to get into the airspace, drop your payload, and then get back out of the airspace and refuel. So tactically, that's a bad idea, because now you got A7s and whatever we're using as I think we're still using A7s as a carrier-based tanker. But you got to get a tanker out there, and you've got to be able to refuel twice before you strike. and then refuel again on the way back, on the way home. That is, you know, assuming that you don't get taken out by anti-aircraft, which is where the 22 comes into play. But the 22 is not a carrier-capable aircraft, which is where the F-35 comes into play. And the F-35 is a sitting duck. Yeah, it's fast. Yeah, it's... I was about to say, yeah, it's maneuverable. It's not. It's a freaking flying brick. Kind of like, well, you know, I was going to say kind of like the 15, but the 15 is far more maneuverable than the 35. But the 35 has a nice helmet. It's got a great helmet display. So the 35 is supposed to be the new thing. So, okay, you got an extra 50 miles. You have 650 miles of range. You still have to refuel 3 times in the mission. It's not going to work. So now what do we have? Now we need like Aegis. So that's why we developed Aegis. Is an anti-missile ship. It's hard to hit a cruise missile. It's very hard to hit a cruise missile. Aegis doesn't have the practical, proving that that it needs. I would not feel comfortable sending the Gerald Ford into a combat zone. God forbid that ever happen. Because please, dear God, do not let that happen. Lord hell. Because you're not going to have a land war with China. It's not going to happen. You're going to have an air war and maybe a naval war. And whoa! Holy crap, dude! I love it when people that come up on the shoulder to pass a whole bunch of traffic, and here I am in my lane trying to get over. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so right now we're chest thumping and we're like, yay, carriers! Yay! We have new carriers! We're gonna get lots and lots of carriers! It's like, but the carriers can't get close enough. We need something else. Strategic-wise. And I'm not advocating, of course not. I'm not advocating like that we go to war. I'm not advocating that we build up munitions. I'm not advocating for any of that. I'm just speaking tactically. I'm speaking from a position of as an amateur tactician. I'm obviously not extremely versed in the art of war. I mean, I read Sun Tzu, and I have some book knowledge and experience in developing tactics. Played a lot of RTS games as a kid. Yeah, that works. But anyway, you know, I'm not advocating that we chest thump. I'm not advocating that we say, yay! But we don't need to put all our eggs in one basket. And that's exactly what a carrier does. In the 21st century, carrier warfare, carrier-based naval warfare is obsolete. And we've got to figure that out. And that's sort of the point of this video, was to say, you know, what can we do? How do we figure this out? So I invite your comments. Please drop them in the doobly-doo. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. What should we do instead of carrier groups? How should we move forward with the threat of an anti-ship missile that can be launched from land and hit you before you're even in the combat zone? Let me know down below. Meanwhile, thank you all for watching. Thank you for stopping by. Again, you can check me out. Hit me up on the Twitter at Airborne Surfer. airbornesurfer.com. You can get the RSS feed there and keep up with all the silliness going on there. And of course, here on well, this is on Periscope, but it will be on YouTube later. Check out all the other videos at youtube.com/The Airborne Surfer. Subscribe, thumbs up, like, tell your friends, share, and all the other things as well. I appreciate you guys, and we will talk again soon. Until then, tally-ho, y'all.